Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today on This Needs to Be Said. Ironically, yesterday my husband is preparing for his program, Elephant Exposed, and he's wanting to talk about an event that happened with a Sesame Street character dissing children of color. And today I get to do this interview with one of the authors of the workbook, the activity book. Let me correct that. The Antiracist Activity Book, Do the Work. Kate Schatz is with me today, and this isn't a book that you just flip through like when I normally talk with you about summer reading and some leisurely read. This isn't it. This is an active book. And Kate, I want to say welcome because I need help getting through this book because yesterday made me so mad. It scrambled my brain for thinking straight today that how can a kid character diss a kid and because of this color of their skin, and not just two kids, everyone that they saw in that parade. So today I get to talk to you about, because I was pissed. I want to say something, but I'm not white. I'm a woman of color, so I feel the rage of someone dismissing me on sight. And so you have this book that you and Kamau Bell have done together, and it's a workbook, and I don't know where to begin, and I'm not a white person. I don't have the skin color privilege. I don't know what to do. So jump in and, one, tell us how to engage this workbook, and then we'll get into the other stuff.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine, for having me, and I just want to start by saying I hear you. I hear you in your rage. I hear you in your disappointment. I hear you in all that frustration. I don't have one clear answer at all. I got a lot of ideas, but I just want to start by saying that I hear you. And I'm mad, and I'm mad too. But I know that I'm a white lady talking to you, and the kind of mad I feel is a real different kind of mad.
So before we went on air, I told you I was overwhelmed because it's one of those things that we wish could be solved. Could we have a new problem? Could we get away from I get that we don't want the problem we have of racism, and it has to be replaced with something, but what would it be? And this work is continual. I would like for it to be done before we die, but I believe this will be work that we're passing on. We'll do a better work than our parents did and their parents, and we'll pass it on. But it's frustrating to think I may pass away tomorrow, and my 10-year-old will grow up, and someone is still being racist or some practice of sexism or homophobia or whatever ism there is, he's going to face it because we didn't solve it before he died. That's frustrating to me. So you have this workbook, this activity book, Do the Work, that you put together with W. Kamau Bell. And the first thing I see is the sign in front of, I have the book in my hand right now, In White Supremacy. And, I mean, that's a sign, but how do I help me in the black community as a woman of color? Help me have the conversation that would open it up to, I mean, these people are going to get sued from what I saw on this video yesterday for what their kids experienced. So that is a solution. That is an option. Yeah. I don't know if you saw that or if you've seen anything else like that, but it's ironic that I just saw it yesterday and I'm interviewing with you today. Yeah. But instances like that, what are some suggestions, and do you see an end to the racism? Do you see an end to this?
Yeah, so,
I haven't
seen that full video yet because our book launched yesterday, and I've been doing endless press, so I didn't have my normal day of looking on social media that I normally do. And what we know is that these things happen all the time, and whether it's a police shooting or an act of extreme violence or something heartbreaking like this video from yesterday with the parade, right? These things happen all the time. Now we're in a moment where sometimes it gets caught on camera and sometimes we end up seeing it, but you know that these are things that happen all the time. So are we in a place of ending this tomorrow or by the time we die? I don't know, but I really agree with you that the best that we can do is try to make it better for our kids for each generation, right? The work that I try to do as a white person is to talk to other white people and get white people talking about this and get white people over their discomfort and their worry about hurting someone's feelings or getting it wrong, and to take the risk to talk about this, to put up this poster. Now, will putting up a poster that says end white supremacy, will that end white supremacy? No, but can it lead to some conversations? Can it lead to some change within your house, your neighborhood, your community? I mean, that's incremental and small, but when we talk about what we can pass on to our kids and how we can make something different, I think those kinds of small local actions can be impactful and can help people understand what's really going on here. And that's why we use the format of an activity book. And Kamau, my co-author, and I, we do use humor. We use this kind of unexpected approach that's not for everyone, but we feel like he and I are both parents. We both have young kids, and we see the kind of workbooks and activities they use in class to teach topics that kids don't want to do, like math maybe, So we have something like racism and white supremacy that a lot of people just don't want to touch. They don't want to talk about it. So we said, well, what if we just took these, like, how can we make it feel accessible and maybe less intimidating for people, but still get a really important message across? So that's what we're trying to go for here.
And it also looks like the awareness that you're bringing. I'm in the beginning of the book. Guys, you'd have to go back and forth with this book, just with the different activities. But the one that says whose land you're on, that's a conversation that, as a child, it wasn't written down, but and I don't know if it's more of a stereotype or if there's any truth behind it, because no one has done research and shown it or shared it. It's just passed from generation to generation that we're Indians. I haven't benefited from living on a reservation or being protected that way, but I know some friends in recent years who are. And I was thinking, well, what I heard about it, they're doing sounds the same, but it's not what I'm living. But the question of whose land are you on was really, I think, the topic. Who belongs where? Who was here first? Who's really the one to get credit for the land or the use of the land or the reason that we get to use it? That kind of thing is what's coming up with whose land are you on in my head. So bringing more awareness to how many, and I guess it's bringing awareness to how deep the racism goes, because it's been covered up and renamed and repurposed, and it becomes something that I'm questioning. Is this for real, or is this something that me and my family are making up for the family? Like, what truth is it? Because if it's not in the book or on Google, it's not true, right? And I didn't have Google as a child. So your book is bringing the awareness of how deep this runs. Now, I'm sorry, I said his name wrong, Kamau. Did two of you get together and think about, like, the further back you go to uncover how deep the racism is that going to take us longer, or does it make it easier for us to make progress in our individual communities?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I love history. Like, I'm an historian, and my other books have all been about history. So I think, to me, that's very helpful to look back in the history to understand where we are today, and then to figure out where we go in the future, right? So again, when you go back to talking about how do we change from generation to generation, well, one way to understand how we have changed in the past is to look at the past, right, and to see how that has happened over time, and also to see how people have made change, and what they've done, and again, to understand how did we get here, and to go back to the land acknowledgement, and who's been here and what does it really mean to be an American. So much of this kind of white supremacist, racist ideology that we're seeing in these politicians, talking about America, and white America and all this. It's like, when did your ancestors come here? We're all immigrants. White people. Any white person in this country is an immigrant, right? That's the truth here. So that's, again, the kind of stuff that we try to look at in the book. And I think sometimes, if you go way too deep into history, sometimes people get overwhelmed, but I also think it's fascinating, and it's not stuff that we learn in school.
Definitely.
And we don't learn it in school, and a lot of people don't. Once you get out of high school and you're done with your history class that you got a okay grade in, you don't really think about it again. America doesn't like to talk about history, at least the real histories that happened. So we really try to put a lot of that in the book too.
I know our time is up, but I thank you for putting this together. This is going to, and in fact, I'm going to pass this on to my husband. This is going to be some work that we have in our house to open up conversations, because with our platform, this needs to be said. It's the elephant that's in the room, and it needs to be exposed. So to be able to have this conversation, I just have to agree it's going to be a continual conversation, but keep talking, keep sharing, and much success.
And
come on.
Oh, yeah. Don't look at me. Yes, sorry, go on.
I'm excited. You're excited. I'm excited about this work, and I want people to, one, know where you would like for them to pick up a copy of Do the Work, and heck, where can they get into a conversation with you guys? This is a conversation. It's a book, but you guys need to be invited into more conversations. So how do they get in touch with you outside of this needs to be said, this needs to be read, and how do they have a conversation with you? Where do they pick up this book?
Well, the irony of me, just what I was doing, I was interrupting you, but what I was going to say is we also need to listen, right? And that's one of the things I do try to share with especially white people, is just the importance, not just of, we got to speak up, but we also just have to listen. And that's one reason when you first shared your feelings at the beginning of our conversation, I wanted to just start with, I hear you, I'm listening, and not just immediately try to have a solution, because so much of this is just about listening to understand and to have compassion. And then that's how we keep having conversations, not always trying to problem solve or deny, because so much of what happens is you're sharing your anger, you're sharing your frustration about this video you saw yesterday, and there's a ton of white people out there saying, well, that wasn't really what happened, or they didn't mean to do it, or you're overreacting. And you know what? That's not the reaction. The reaction is to hear you and to hear your pain and say, wow, I hear you, and like to take that in, and then to keep having the conversation. So for people to find us, we're on social media. You can watch Kamau's TV show on CNN every Sunday night, United Shades of America. It's an incredible show. He travels the country, talks to people all over this country about all kinds of things. We're on Twitter. I'm at Kate Schatz. He's at W. Kamau Bell. We're on Instagram. We've got websites, and we love hearing from people. We love engaging with people. And once people do get this book, we'd love to hear what people think, what they're learning, what they're taking away, and what ideas they have for how we keep doing the work and having the conversation.
This is the first time I've had a book that continues even after the book is done, like for real. I mean, you tell someone you read a book, right? But this is an active book. If a book was a TV show, this would definitely be it. So I'm looking forward to more conversations, not because of the topic. I mean, you're great to talk to, but I'm glad that this conversation is being had. I'm glad this elephant is being exposed, and I'm glad that we're able to touch it on every side so that we can listen, we can look for solutions if there need to be solutions, as you said, because my first thing to you is, how do we solve this, right? So it's not necessarily a solution like this is the one point. It's a continual conversation. Like, I don't know, like living a healthy life is a lifestyle. You're going to go away from, you're not going back to anything you were doing before this conversation. We're going to keep it going. So, Kate, thank you so much for stopping by, and I definitely will follow up with how me and my husband and my family engage with this book. Thank you.
Please do. Thank you so much, Catherine.
Have a wonderful day and much success on your tour.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for tuning in to This Needs to Be Said. I hope you've gained something from what has been shared. Send me your comments and show ideas through the website at tntbsmedia.com. I'd love to hear from you.